Demonstrating 1950 Census Urban and Rural Location Searches. Since 2002, my team, including Steve Morse and many volunteers, have produced free locational tools for the OneStep website. That's at stevemorse.org. For the April 1st, 2022 opening of the 1950 federal census. This video is going to show you how to use those tools. So where would you go to find 1950 addresses? Well, you can pause this video here. I'm giving you some suggestions here. When the census becomes public in 2022, there will not be a name index. So you're going to have to look things up by location. And the trick is to go from a location to an enumeration district number. Even when there is going to be a name index, there are things that can go wrong. And so it's important for you to know about locational searches, and our website is one of the main ones that has tools to do that. So you come here with an address or a location. How are you going to get the enumeration district number? There are enumeration district maps that the National Archives has, and they put over 8,000 of them online on their catalog. Eventually, I expect that they will have a standalone 1950 website. Those maps, those online maps, include maps of cities with 5 or more EDs or county maps. But some of the maps are missing. We needed those maps, or the linkages were bad. And so on the OneStep website, you can find maps that you cannot find on the National Archives site. And this is the utility we have there on the OneStep website to view enumeration district maps. They include some of those missing maps. We also have a video, an essay on problems using those maps, because those maps are governmental maps. They're not like your typical map with indexes and that sort of thing. And it would pay for you to take a look at this essay. It will avoid some problems that are inherent in using enumeration district maps. Now, another way of going from a location to an enumeration district is that the National Archives has 38 film rolls of these 1950 ED definitions. There are quite a number of definitions. There are over 20 or 230,000 definitions. And we found all 38 films on Interlibrary Loan and scanned them ourselves and put them on the OneStep web pages. So that's stevemorse.org, not .com. There are 300 utilities, but the major utilities are going to be the unified tool that I'm going to show you next. And we're going to use a small community. Accident, Maryland, has 2 enumeration districts on the 1950 census, and Elder, Maryland, which I think is a small community, it shows on the enumeration district map, is what we're going to be looking for. So here is part of the 1950 map for Garrett County, Maryland. You can see the district number 5 is accident, and I think you can see accident there is also a community, an unincorporated community within the district. And over here we have something called Elder. Now, the original ED definitions did not include that. In fact, 1940 definitions had a lot more unincorporated communities. Elder might be just a couple of houses, may not even be a community, but I'm going to assume it is. I don't know whether it's in 12-4 or 12-10. Let's search for Elder. If we search on Google Maps today, It's cute. If I put down Elder, Garrett County, Maryland, they give me senior centers. So you can't find Elder on a modern map. You can't, these maps, these county maps at the National Archive aren't indexed to the communities on the map. You only will see the name of the county map. So it's going to be difficult unless you use the OneStep tools, and I'm going to show you that next. Here we are on the OneStep web pages. This is at stevemorse.org, remember. You can scroll down to see all the sections or look on the upper left. This is a free website, freely available, and what we want to do is get to the U.S. Census information. So we click on that, and now we are on the U.S. Census page. The first part here helps to have you understand the process. There is an essay here that we wrote on the 1950 census. There is the essay on ED maps here. And then there's something called a tutorial quiz, which is going to ask you questions about your situation. We'll answer them. If you run into trouble, there'll also be information there for you. So that's an important little tool, that tutorial quiz. There's also up here the 72-year rule. So what we want to do is we want to come down here and do the unified tool. That's the major tool. Click on that. And this is going to contain actually two major databases. We are looking at a rural community. Up here we have census codes, we have frequently asked questions, we have going back to the main web page. Down here we have a list of our volunteers. There's lots of information here. Also notice that a number of these boxes are grayed out. You have to do something in order to have these open up. What we want to do after we go through some entries here is to get the 1950 enumeration district number. So that's the important thing. So we're looking for a small community in Maryland. You notice there are some territories here. District of Columbia. Go down to Maryland. We could add a county like Garrett County, although that's not absolutely needed. It would be useful if there were a lot of communities with the same name within that state, and by choosing the county, we would only get the names within the county. Now, we come up here, and we actually see here first, it says if you select your city from the list of cities displayed, you will be able to enter street level information. If you select other from the city list, you'll be able to type in your city or town name. We want to get into this box. So we open this up and we see a whole bunch of cities here. This one is a split in between two different counties that we have full street transcriptions on, but obviously Elder or Accident are too small. They're probably not even incorporated. Instead, we want to click Other. Now, when we do that, things change here, and this box becomes open. So now is the only time that we can actually enter something. We enter Elder, and we look down here to see, and we find out that Elder is in 3 different enumeration districts. So that name appears on these ED definitions and additional community names I added, and we now have 3. They're in 2 separate counties. The prefix is a county name. Now, we hope eventually here to have a link to the actual schedule pages. So when the census comes out on April in 2022, we hope eventually to have enough information for you to go directly to the first page within the enumeration district. First page. If we click more details, we get details about all three of these enumeration districts. This is in Cecil County. These are two in Garrett County. Now, if we look at this closely, it says here that this data came from the National Archive film that were the ED definitions augmented with additional institution and community names. So the first part of, let's say, 1210 says this is election district 5, accident, outside accident town, and should contain Oaktown, Keysers Ridge, and Elder. And should contain are the additional community names that I added. The first part are from the original ED definition. Now, if we had clicked on 1210, it's going to tell us that this isn't available until the 1950 census becomes available. This would hopefully lead to the first image of that schedule. Okay, so let's go back. If we click here on view, or the same thing would happen if we clicked on a number. Let's click on 12.4. Now, when we click on that number, we're going to actually see the scan of the National Archives film. And here we see 12.4. This is the actual one here, and it says that it's Friendsville and Cellarport, the part south and west of State Highway 42, outside Friendsville town. 1210, and there are two of these pictures per frame. 1210 says it's in District Accident, that part outside Accident Town. You notice that it doesn't have Elder because this is the original definition, the definition. Okay, so let's go back and summarize this. What we've done is we have looked up a small rural community. We've looked up its name on this other database, which includes the ED definitions, the original ones, and a large number of added community names that were found on county maps. Okay, so that's a rural search. Now, in terms of an urban location, it needs a different database. And so for most urban areas of over 5,000 in population, in 1950, our group transcribed from those enumeration district maps and ED definitions all the street names and most of the institutions, parks, cemeteries that we encountered within each of those EDs. Those names form the basis of our urban location tool for over 2,400 1950 urban areas. So I'm going to use as an example something from my background, which is 4791 Broadway in New York City. This is what a Google map looks like today. You can see 4791 is a wellness and nutrition center, and to the right is a barber shop. Why do I have some sort of relationship with that? Well, it turns out that when I was growing up in New York, that it was the site of my grandfather's laundry. He owned a laundry, a hand laundry. There he is shoveling snow off of the top. And the address of that is 4791. It's ambiguous. The building, the big building, it's a 6-story building of apartments above these rows of shops, might also be 4791, although the entrance is on Cumming Street. You can see there's a fruit stand next door. Today it's a barbershop. Now I'm going to show you why you don't want to go through the same routine that we did finding Elder in Maryland. So if I did that pick New York State, pick New York County, pick City Other, and put down Broadway, I would get a lot of Broadway enumeration districts. So it works, right? No, it doesn't work. For one thing, it returns 269 enumeration districts, and I can't get down to a single enumeration district because that's it. I asked for Broadway, it gave me Broadway. Secondly, there are actually over 320 EDs with Broadway, so I'm missing a number of the EDs. Why am I missing them? Well, I'm missing them because the 1950 city EDs are defined on the National Archive films by their boundary streets and features. So if you're dealing with an internal street, it's not going to show on the database that is on the OneStep unified tool. Okay, so be careful about that. Now, we're looking at a map of Manhattan. There are 4 different maps, and this is the upper left. It shows you that there are a bunch of institutions. They have a double name. 3138, 31-43. 31 is the prefix for Manhattan. But if I move over and look at the top of Manhattan, this is where I grew up, the numbers shown don't show the prefix. And that's going to trip up some people. In fact, that 2101 on Inwood Hill Park is actually 31-2101. And you have to do is look for the legend on the map. It may only be on the first map, and it will tell you that all EDs are preceded by 31. 31. We're going to be looking at this particular block. It's 2151, or more 31-2151. You notice that there are some blocks around it in which there are 2 enumeration districts within a single block. And in fact, one of those blocks is where I grew up. You wonder why I became a field biologist. Well, I went over to Inwood Hill Park and did some bird watching, and that's where I cut my teeth. Here's our example of a city address search. We're at the Unified tool. Remember, we went through stevemorse.org down to the U.S. Census section. On the top, didn't mention this before, but the year is 1950. That's the year that we just changed it to when you see it. We have other census years as well, where you can go through the same procedure that I'm showing you, that I'm going to show you, to find from a address in large cities the enumeration district. But in 1950, we have twice the number of cities transcribed as we did in 1940. So we're looking for an address in New York. We come to the New York pull down. New York, we press that. We could press a county here. New York City is really kind of difficult for some people. Figure out the geography. We actually have a paper on the OneStep website that describes the geography of New York City. Let's leave that blank. We come over here, and for a New Yorker, this would make sense that we're not going to show you New York City here. We're instead going to show you Manhattan. And now these 2 boxes open up. There are only 2 boxes here where you can enter your own information. The house number here, or if you were doing a rural search, you can enter and type in the name of that community here. Those are the only 2, because we're worried that you're going to be making mistakes. Don't trust you. So all the others are these pull down boxes. Okay. So let's put down here Broadway. Where did all these streets come from? You notice that in our format is to always reverse the compass modifier to the end of the street. Well, all these came from all these enumeration district transcriptions. We want to get to Broadway. We want to do it fast. So I'm going to type in the letter C. And we get to the beginning of the C's, and we look at Broadway, which is toward the top of the B's. I enter Broadway. We now have less number of EDs, but still quite a number. We don't want to look through those. And it says here you can reduce the number of these choices by selecting the names of the other streets on that city block. How do we find this out? We're giving you a modern mapping program. We enter 4791. We can enter that here. And we say, Google Map, show us that address today. And hopefully that address today hasn't been renumbered, the streets haven't been renamed, etc. So here we are, the block. This is Broadway, Cumming, Seaman, Academy. This is more toward the north, Academy. Broadway is toward the east, Cumming, Seaman. Okay? And there are all sorts of things. They're showing 4791 Broadway here as this large building with the entrance here. I'm not sure that's correct. That may be actually a Cummings address. It might be that the whole building is 4791. So remember that, Academy, Seaman, Cumming. So let's go back here and look and enter, let's say, Cumming. So I press the letter D to come up to the C's and look at Cumming. And voila, look, we're down to 2 enumeration districts. So of all the enumeration districts in Manhattan, there are only 2 of them that have both Broadway and Cumming as streets within that enumeration district. That's pretty neat. That's not enough. We want to reduce it further. So I look here, and now I have 3 streets here, plus Cumming and Broadway. That's 5. There are only 5 street names in these 2 blocks. So let's press Seaman. Now, I didn't reduce it. Actually, I'll show you this. If I pressed Academy, I get down to a single unique enumeration district. But let's assume that you've entered 3 names. You're still not down to 2. And now you come down here for the 4th one. You press Academy and you're down to a single. There are situations where you will not be able to get down to a single enumeration district. And the FAQs, the video on that, will explain exactly how that worked. I can find the enumeration district definition here. If I click on that, it takes me to the microfilm in that situation here. It takes me to 31-1. Well, I want 31-2151. I can start looking through frames here, and it turns out that I've done this before, that it's on 336. It starts at 31-2150. Here is 2151. It's a single block. The block number is 6 within track 295. This is the north, east, south, west side of the block. Now notice something else here, that these frames, these original scans, there are 2 per frame. So sometimes if you go to this frame, you may forget that there is another image underneath it over here. Some of these have more than 1 block. Okay, so let's go back. Let's go back if I can. Click on that. If I ask for the streets in the enumeration district, I could do that. It shows me the 4 streets. It only has 1 here. So I can do a number of things I did that I did before. And eventually we're also going to have, we hope, a linkage to this directly to the first image of the of that enumeration district. Okay, so to summarize, you've just looked at a demonstration of a enumeration district, an address that's found within city of a state, that if indeed your city is listed on the city list, you can then go through a series of adding names on a block before you get to a specific unique enumeration district. Pretty good. And so with that, I wish you good luck with your 1950 census searches. This will be the first one that I'm going to be on and that Steve Morse will be on. So we're looking forward to it. This has been another of my JDW talks. I have YouTube talks on census resources, Ellis Island, natural history topics. I am a field biologist, virtual birding field trips, and birding optics. When I started this, I thought I would have something like, maybe a dozen JDW talks, and now I'm well over 35. So remember that I do have other 1950 census talks. The more you know about the 1950 census, the more you'll get out of the schedules that you find your people on.